What is up, everyone? Welcome to Reality Room Podcast with Paul, bringing you the latest on Survivor Ghost Island, Episode 6. Okay, guys, so it's just me today. Dave and Chris are both busy with school and such, so just up to me today. So let's just jump right into it. So we just came off of a tribal council where, it was basically the question of who of the original Malolo tribe was leaving on the new Malolo tribe. But they started the episode actually. They didn't start the episode as they typically do with them coming back to camp. They started right with the three tribes meeting because they're doing a new tribe swap, which honestly I think we really needed this episode because of just the tribe dynamics. It seems like Naviti had like a huge the original Naviti tribe has had a huge advantage in terms of numbers, and also the new Malolo tribe was losing a lot. So I think it was a good time for a tribe swap. Plus, they switched up into three tribes, which I think is very honestly. I prefer it with three tribes. I think it's a good time for it. What was there? 15 people left, so 5 people per tribe. That's a good number. 5 people. That's typically what they do a lot anyway. All right. So let's talk about the way these tribes were broken down. All right. So let's start with the new Malolo, the new Malolo tribe. I'm not even gonna call it new or old or whatever. I'm just gonna say Malolo. From now on, just gonna say Malolo, Naviti, and Yanua. So we have Mike. So Mike's still on the Malolo tribe. We have James, who was just moved from Naviti to Malolo. We have Desiree, who was on the new Malolo, is now on Malolo again. We have Angela, who was on Naviti and is now on Malolo. And we have Kellen, who was on Malolo before, now she's on Malolo now. So honestly, the way the tribe was broken down, Malolo, it seemed like it's 3 Naviti. Actually, all the tribes have broken it down into 3 Naviti and 2 Malolo, which is actually quite interesting, and probably not good for the Malolo tribe or the original Malolo tribe. I'm still saying original Malolo tribe. Sorry, guys. Anyway, so the new Naviti tribe, which I'll just call Naviti, is now Donathan, Libby, Dominic, Bradley, and Chelsea. So this is an interesting tribe, I think, as well. I'm interested to see how Bradley's going to react to all this. I see Patty's in the chat. My PJRE picks are all correct. Next, Wendell or Sebastian goes. Yep, merge at 13. Merge at 13. That's an interesting thought. I mean, haven't they usually done it at 12? I guess 13 makes sense in a season of 20 though. So yeah, you're probably right about that. So yeah. Dominic is finally away from Chris, and honestly, Dom has never left like Naviti. Like he's just always been on the Naviti tribe. Like he's purple to the end of time, basically, which it's cool, I guess. But he's finally away from Chris, which is good because that tribe tension, like that was basically the only thing interesting about the Naviti tribe at the time. It was just like, oh, what's going to happen between Dom and Chris? But they never lost a challenge, so we never really got a chance to see what happened there. I mean, they tried to get rid of Angela, Chris's right-hand woman, at that one juncture when they lost a few episodes ago. But ever since then, nothing's really happened. So it was really just nothing happening between Dom and Chris because they never lost. But now they're separated, so now we won't have to deal with that until merge, which I think will be a very important spot for when Dom and Chris make merge, which I suspect that they will together, and we'll see how things go between them at that point. Then we have the new tribe. It's a green tribe now. It's called Yanua. Glad Dom has room to wiggle now that Chris is on another tribe. Yeah, I mean, Dom was not in a good position on Naviti, although he did have his immunity idol, and he still has the legacy advantage, which he can use pretty soon for the first time. I think in a couple of episodes, it might even be the first. Might even be the first jury, the first week of jury. So we'll see what happens there. So Yunua, we have Chris, Sebastian. Chris and Sebastian are back together, so they were really close early on. Wendell, Jenna, and Laurel. It's an interesting tribe. I'm curious to see what happens here at 13 or 6. Yeah, so at what you're suspecting will be the first week of jury then. So let's. Wendell and Chris is interesting because they never really got a chance to bond, and we see that a little bit in the episode too. I'm curious to see how Laurel's going to work around this tribe because she's now on the bottom, so she kind of has to like work her way around. Although she was also working with Wendell, so I don't know. Things are going to get a little complicated. I feel is Wendell going to stick with the Navini tribe, or is he going to stick with like Laurel, who was working with him and Dom? So it's going to be very interesting. Dom advantage works at 13 or 6. Yeah, I know. So, all right. So let's jump into the first new tribe, Yunua. So they all get together. Jenna's happy for the switch, which makes sense because I believe she was probably the next to go. In fact, she was this close to leaving last week before Stephanie got the boot, which I'm still a little bitter about. But, it happens. Laurel is in a good spot. I agree because of the situation with Chris, which I guess I'll get to now since I'm already doing the Yunua tribe. So Chris talks to Wendell and he's like, listen, like we're good, right? Like the only thing that was really separating us was Dom, and I think we're good to go. And Wendell also brought a shell of Sebastian's, which I thought was very interesting. He kept the shell that Sebastian found from the original tribe, and he gave it back to him. And Sebastian was like, wow, this guy really, really gets me. So I'm really happy about this. And, you got to give Wendell some credit because he had no way of knowing if Sebastian was going to stay. And I don't even think this was strategy, but it works as strategy, because now Sebastian kind of feels like, hey, this guy gets me, he understands me, and let's work together. So I think Wendell and Sebastian are going to be good allies now, especially after just like that really key moment with them. And there's always a reason why they show these things in the episodes. So Wendell kind of tells Chris, yeah, I mean, we're good to go. But in like an aside, he's like, yeah, I still like Dom better because Chris likes to talk about himself, though I do like Chris because he's really good at challenges. So they don't really see themselves losing because of the amount of strength that they have on their tribe right now. I mean, they have Chris, Wendell, and Sebastian. Those are 3 pretty strong powerhouses. So if there's anything physical coming about, I think they're pretty good to go. Plus, they have like a lot of brains there too. The tribe. I mean, Laurel's a smart cookie. I believe she was in law school, right? So I mean, they have basically everything going for them. Just in my humble opinion, I don't see them losing a challenge anytime soon, unless something drastic happens. Okay, so Chris knows he has to build relationships. Did you notice that there wasn't any Ghost Island this episode? Now that you mention it, there wasn't. I guess it's because they wanted the new tribes to like coalesce together. They didn't want to break it up. I guess that's the only real reason I can think of. Or they're saving it. They're saving the rest until merge, which is also a possibility because with 3 tribes, it's always complicated. It is complicated to do Ghost Island in that sense because when you're sending 1 member over, you're basically leaving like 4 members of the tribe there, and it's kind of like hard to pull out a vote like that. And who gets to decide really which member of the tribe gets to go now? Is it the people who get first place? Do first and second place decide together which member of the losing tribe goes to Ghost Island? or are they only solely doing this during reward challenges now? Because I don't know, that maybe that's just what they're doing. Also, I see a pattern. One girl goes one week and one guy goes next week. The pattern keeps going. Well, I mean, it's 6 episodes in. On a statistical level, that is how you would expect it to happen. But good observation there. If we're expecting the pattern to continue, I guess we'll be seeing a girl going next week. Who can it be? Who knows? But thank you, Stephen, for that observation. So Laurel basically says that she doesn't like Chris all that much because he talks about himself a lot, but she also understands his utility because of how strong he is. So very similar to Wendell, but she says that if they lose a challenge, he'll probably be the one to go. So I don't know. I guess she knows that the relationship that she has with Wendell is real. So I guess Laurel is in a good position, like Patty just suggested in the chat before. All right, so let's jump into the Malolo tribe. They didn't spend as much time on them as they did on Yanua, but basically it was Mike being worried about his tribe position because it's still the 3 versus 2 situation. But he was happy to hear about what happened with Angela, because he kind of saw it as a possibility to step in and maybe work some magic and maybe not be on the bottom of the tribe for once. Because Mike's had it really, really rough up until now. He's been fighting his way from the bottom for weeks, really, long ass time. But yeah, so Mike's happy to hear that Angela's maybe a little more open-minded about switching allegiances than maybe Kellen and Desiree are, because those two are joined at the hip. It's a little crazy how close the people on the second Malolo tribe got, who were on the original Navidi tribe. All right, so James is not happy about the tribe swap because he sees himself in a bad position. Furthermore, he also he knows that he's not close with Mike because Mike put his name down. The second episode, episode 2, which is really just episode 1, part 2, right? Yeah, sure. So, but he basically knows that he's the only one that he can work with at this point, and basically now they're cool. Now that there is a new tribe, do you think one of the castaways in the Grieve tribe will find an idol? Absolutely, yeah. There's definitely an idol on that island, and I also believe that there is probably an idol on Malolo because Mike used his already. The only island I don't think there's an idol on right now is probably Navidi, because Dom hasn't used his yet. Basically, whenever you use an idol, it just gets recycled back onto the island somewhere. But yeah, there's definitely a new idol on Yanua. We just got to see who has the tenacity to find it. And if I had to take a guess, it's either going to be I can see Chris looking for it at some point. I can definitely see it, or maybe even Laurel taking the look for it. Because she's a smart player. She knows that that's definitely an important tool to have. So she might search for it with a Wendell maybe, and we'll see what happens there. I don't see Sebastian looking for it by himself, but maybe if Chris tells him to search for him, maybe he will. So there's a lot of stuff that can go down there. But yeah, I definitely think that there's a immunity idol on Yanua. Let me know down below if you agree or disagree with that presumption. Also, if you agree or disagree with me still suspecting that there's a new one at Malolo, at the Malolo camp, as well as the Yanua camp. All right, so Navidi. Let's jump into Navidi now, because there wasn't really a lot to do with Malolo, probably because they lost the challenge later. We got to see a lot more dynamics with them later, which I feel like that's something that they've been doing a lot of lately. They don't really show too much of the tribes before the challenge anymore. They just show a really, really, really long session of after the immunity challenge of trying to figure out who to vote for. I feel like that's been getting longer as the seasons has been going on. That's just the way that I've been seeing it. I could be wrong. It has been a while since I watched the older seasons. All right, so Bradley is happy to go back to Navidi. So they're going back and they're drinking coffee, and they're like, "It's so good to be home." Chelsea was talking about how they didn't have any food at Malolo, and she's just happy to be back, feeling like a sense of a home. I think she starts tearing up, and Dom's like, "Are you crying?" Aw, it's like it's like it is what it is. Dom's happy he's away from Chris. He verbally expresses that. And somehow, well, not somehow, but Dom is talking to Bradley about how he thinks that Libby is the one to go because he sees Libby as like the devil, basically, which I guess occurred because of the time she voted out Morgan, who was a very, very close friend of hers, in the third episode, probably the third episode. So yeah, that's basically why Dom sees Libby as a devil because she voted out one of his greatest allies, who also had a good relationship with her at the time. So he thinks that she's willing to do anything she has to do to get further in this game, which I think is, I mean, you do what you got to do to win, but he's painting a target on someone's back, and that's basically what he has to do at this point. And it also makes sense to do it on the weakest person in the tribe, who probably is Libby at this point. So it makes sense what Dom's doing on like many, many levels. Like on the one level, the personal reason of Libby basically screwing him over by voting out Morgan, who's one of Dom's closest ally, and two, her being the weakest member of the tribe, so it makes sense to go after her anyway. And three, she's not aligned with him now, so there's no reason to even, bother. All right, Dom warned Bradley about Libby. Bradley feels comfortable. I think that's a mistake, and we'll probably see this come up again fairly soon, like maybe an episode or two. He says he's playing an A+ game, and you know what happens when you get comfortable in Survivor? You tend to leave like a few episodes later, or well, typically you tend to leave that same episode. They start feeling comfortable. So if Bradley continues to feel this way, I can only see a demise for him coming up sooner rather than later. And Bradley's kind of growing on me. Like I talked a lot of bad stuff about him, and not a lot of bad stuff. I talked bad about him a little bit. Said that he sounded a little cocky, but he still sounds cocky. So maybe they didn't get to go to Ghost Island because there was no reward challenge. Yeah, that's definitely a possibility there. And because it does seem like they're doing it only on reward challenges now. So good observation there, Steve. All right, so we're going to the immunity challenge. Oh boy, I'm talking very quickly today. Sorry, listeners. Okay, so really the goal of this challenge was to have all but one person be blindfolded, and they basically had to collect a bunch of bags which contained puzzle pieces, and then the one person had to guide the rest of his tribe to finish the puzzle, which is like this circular puzzle. So it was a cool challenge, and throughout the challenge it was really Malolo who was in the lead for the majority of it, and then at the end they kind of like dipped like a lot. Like Navidi and Yunua both caught up, and Yunua won first, and then Navidi won. It was a close race between Navidi and Malolo at that point, though. All right, so Yunua and Navidi win immunity, and Malolo loses immunity. I think that's like the fourth time in a row, third time. I think it's, yeah. Well, what time is it? I think it's the third time. It might be the fourth. I could be forgetting. So Desiree feels responsible for the loss. So we go back to camp, and she's kind of like crying a little bit. She's kind of like, listen, I kind of understand. It's kind of my responsibility here. Kelly and Desiree agree to vote out James. Why? Because they're not aligned with them, basically. That's really the only reason. It's not like, oh, strategy-wise, like, oh, it's going to make us stronger. No, it's really going to make them weaker, if anything. James is well, maybe aside from swimming and diving down, he's got a good physical prowess that I think he can that I think would benefit the tribe personally. So Angela talks about, and so James and um, Mike talk. So if you see my phone, this is where I write my notes. Mike and oh my God, Mike and James talk about how they have to kind of work together and talk to Angela to vote out Desiree. And James is like, okay, look, I have a good relationship with Angela, so I'll try talking to her. Hopefully, she feels like she owes me. So James does talk to Angela, and he pitches like a good point, being like, listen, Angela's like, I feel like I'm on the bottom of those three, and he's like, listen, you're not going to be on the bottom with me, believe me. I think I'm not sure he played this right. I think he should have really emphasized how he wasn't that close to Mike, but they're forced to work together because of circumstances, and how he was really closer to her because in her mind she was still in the bottom of both of the threesomes, so it doesn't really matter where she went. So she thought she might as well stick to the original Navidi tribe where the numbers are. But I feel like if James really assured her and let her know, listen, you're my number two, not Mike, then I think I gotta say this must be one of my favorite challenges. Desi, Wendell, and Dominic. Well, Desi mostly were yelling like maniacs. Yeah, I mean, I love those challenges in game, because it's usually the loud people that they put as like the person directing. So it's just always a good time. All right, so back to James. Like I said, I don't think he played that right. He should have said, "Listen, I'm not that close with Mike, but I think he can vote with us if we want to vote out Desiree, because Desiree because sorry, I'm getting jumbled up with my words here. Because Angela doesn't want to be the bottom of the three. She wants to be number one, number two, whatever. I mean, one or two, they're basically interchangeable at that point in an alliance. It's number three that you have to worry about. It's number three that's you don't want to be. So yeah, and James didn't say that. He's like, yeah, me and Mike are good. We talked, and that was the issue, in my humble opinion. So then Kellen talks with Angela, and she's kind of like, listen, I want us to stick strong together. I think we can still go far. We got a good shot, and I'm sticking with Desi to the end. Um, and then we go to tribal. It was an interesting tribal. Not too much crazy stuff happened there. I think I forgot what it was, but Jeff asked James another question that I think he also answered incorrectly in regards to in regards to Angela. He's like, I think it was regarding like tribal lines and like whether or not they mattered, and like James said, yeah, they kind of do matter, but you also have to reach to the other side. I think James definitively should have just said, no, I don't think tribal lines matter at all. And I feel this way because I've connected with people in the other tribe even more so than people on my original tribe. That's what he should have said. Just in my opinion, I think James could still be here right now if he said that. Well, maybe not because Mike was voting, but there could have been like a whispering thing at the end. We get those in immunity, John. Not immunity. We get those at tribal sometimes. Okay, so that's just my opinion there. Let me know if you agree or disagree down below. So what happens is James is voted out 4-1. Also, somewhere in the middle, Kellen says that she plays with her gut, not with her heart or her head, but with her gut, which is kind of ironic because if Angela played with her gut, then James would still be here. Just saying. I expected James to go home, sure, but didn't expect he would be voted out by everyone else except for himself. Well, everyone else is basically just the three who need to be voted out and Mike. So if I had to guess, Angela talked to Mike and she's like, listen, I'm voting out James. So you do what you got to do. And Mike did what he had to do. So he voted out James too. And James is he felt blindsided and he was upset, but there's only so much you can do about it. All right, so yeah, I guess we'll call it there. Predictions for next episode. Eh, I don't know. It depends on which tribe loses immunity. I guess in Navidi, I would expect. Geez, what would I expect to happen in Navidi? Oh, right, they did have something in the scenes for next episode about Bradley, so maybe Bradley could go there. With Yanua, I probably see Chris going. Um, although he does have the best story, so I kind of doubt that they are ever going to lose anyway. So maybe it doesn't really matter. If Balolo lose, I don't think they're going to vote out Mike. I really don't. Or Mike's going to find an immunity idol. Uh, so another immunity idol. All right, so yeah, that's my predictions on what's going to happen next episode, on who's going to leave rather. Um, I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe down below. I'm getting like dry mouth because I'm talking so much and talking so fast. So I hope you, at the very least, enjoyed my long my long recap. Well, it's not really that long, but well, I talked for a half hour straight. That's pretty good. Thank you guys for watching so much. So please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Also, please, the reason why we like you to subscribe to our channel is because YouTube has screwed us recently. The VD goes to tribal and Bradley goes. That's my prediction. Okay, good prediction. Good prediction there, Steven. Well, we'll see what happens next week. Be sure to tune in to our recap that week, next week as well. So please, and you can do that by subscribing to our channel down below. YouTube has changed their monetization system, so now you need 1,000 subscribers in order to be monetized. We were originally monetized, and now YouTube took it away from us because that's what they do. They like to ruin lives. Yeah. So please subscribe to our channel and help us reach that 1,000 subscriber goal, and further beyond we go. Aye aye. All right, and also, as you can see down in our description box below, we have a Patreon. If you'd like to support us monetarily, please check that out. If you donate $3 or more, we will personally shout out your name at the end of every video that we make. And speaking of shout outs, I'd like to shout out Patty, Peggy, and Peter for supporting our channel and everything that we put out, that Chris, Dave, and I have been putting out for the past, well, really the past 2 years. That's how long Chris and I have been doing it. So thank you so much for supporting us. And if you want to support us, please check out the description box down below, and we will also shout out your name. Steven says, "Thanks, Paul, for the recap." Thank you, Steven, for your comments. Until next time, guys. Peace.